And here's that welcome-worthy, wonder-working winnower of well-founded, warranted, worldwide wows, believe it or not, Bob Ripley.
Probably the most cussed and discussed subject in the world today is the weather, and we've had plenty of it lately. But we really shouldn't complain about the weather. We've had worse. Why, the year 1866 was known as a year without a summer. All along the Atlantic coast, they had snow, sleet, rain, and cold all summer long. In July, birds froze to death in the fields and forests, crops never came up, and not a single fruit tree bore fruit all year long. But the like of it has never happened since. But the most dismal of all days within the memory of man was the famous dark day of 1790. On May the 19th, midday was as black as midnight, and it wasn't due to any eclipse of the sun at all, but was caused by a mysterious formation of heavy black clouds. Roosters failed to crow, all animals remained asleep, and people actually carried lanterns down Broadway at noontime. We really didn't have a bad storm this week. Why, when I was in the Philippines, I came across a place where the greatest of all storms took place. This was a real flood. On July the 14th, 1911, 46 inches of rain fell in 24 hours in Baguio, not far from Manila. That means that more rain fell in Baguio in one day than usually falls in Los Angeles in 3 years. 26 years ago, next Thursday, the greatest tragedy in the history of the sea occurred. On the night of April the 14th, 1912, a wireless message crackled across the ocean announcing that the Titanic, hailed as the safest ship afloat, was sinking. That message was received by a young Marconi operator sitting alone in his little wireless station in New York City. This operator was the first to receive and to send out this disastrous message to the world, the sinking of the Titanic with a loss of 1,518 lives. President Taft in Washington even ordered all wireless stations silenced so this boy could continue receiving messages from the rescue ships. And he performed this heroic task. He stayed at his wireless key for 72 hours at a stretch without relief. This coming week, being the anniversary of the Titanic disaster, I think it fitting to pay tribute to this boy of 26 years ago. That wireless operator was none other than David Sarnoff, now president of the Radio Corporation of America and chairman of the board of the National Broadcasting Company, believe it or not. For my next Believe It or Not, I take you back over 40 years to 1896 in Port Hope, Michigan. It's just before dinner at the home of the Shoebring. The children are playing an exciting game of bear and Indian when the mother calls to them.
Children! Dinner'll be ready in a second, just as soon as I get this bread cut.
All right, Mother. We're on a bear hunt. We're out in the woods and we're Indians. Woo! Yippee, look out, Mr. Bear! Woo! Here we come!
Children, how can I cut bread with you under my feet? Come out from under that table, Arthur.
That isn't a table, Mother. That's a big cave. And it isn't Arthur, he's a bear. Woo! Yippee, look out, Mr. Bear. Here we come. Look out, Arthur!
Oh, my darling, what have I done?
What's the matter, Mother? What's the matter with Arthur?
He jumped out from under the table, and this bread knife went right into his eye.
And the little boy who was playing a game with his brother and sister that evening is here with us tonight to tell us the strange conclusion to that accident. Mr. Arthur Shoebring, I can't think of anything more terrifying than a bread knife going into an eye.
It's the best thing that ever happened to me.
What, a knife in your eye?
Yes, Mr. Ripley. You see, before my accident, I was so cross-eyed that I was very miserable. The bread knife must have cut a muscle, and it straightened out my eyes. Now my eyes are perfectly normal.
Yes, that's right. Your eyes are. They're not cross-eyed anymore, I'm sure. Thank you, Mr. Shoebring. Ladies and gentlemen, I think you'll agree that that was a lucky accident. Arthur Shoebring, who was cross-eyed when a little boy, accidentally ran into a bread knife his mother was holding, and that accident straightened out his crossed eyes. Believe it or not. While on the subject of lucky accidents, I have a young man standing here beside me whom I'd like to question. His name is Robert Merrill. He came here from Crane, Missouri. Mr. Merrill, tell us, where were you on October the 16th, 1931?
I was out hunting with a rifle.
And what happened?
As I was running across the field, I tripped and fell. The gun went off and the bullet went right through my side.
That's terrible.
Oh, no, Mr. Ripley, that bullet did me a favor.
A favor?
Yes. When I got to the hospital, the doctors told me that the bullet had clipped off my appendix clean as a whistle.
Well, that was a lucky bullet, I must say. Ladies and gentlemen, you've just heard from Robert Merrill, who was out hunting and stumbled and fell while carrying a rifle. The rifle went off and the bullet went completely through his right side. But instead of hurting him, the bullet miraculously cut off his appendix with surgical precision, believe it or not. This being the night of lucky accidents, I have also invited Mr. Joe Fleischman from Jackson, Michigan, to come here and tell us about his accident. Now, tell us what happened to you, Mr. Fleischman.
I was smoking a pipe, Mr. Ripley.
Well, that's good.
No, that was bad. Because I was fixing a tire at the same time.
Oh, and that was bad.
No, that was good. Because the tire exploded in my face.
Well, what's good about that?
When the tire exploded in my face, it drove the pipe stem right down my throat.
Oh, I suppose that was just dandy.
It was. You see, I had some trouble with my tonsils.
Good or bad?
Don't worry. It all ended happily, Mr. Ripley. The tire exploded in my face and drove the pipe stem down my throat. And that pipe stem cut off my tonsils completely and free of charge.
Free of charge? Believe it or not. Ladies and gentlemen, you've just heard of 3 lucky, believe it or not, accidents with a purpose. You've heard Arthur Shoebring, who got a knife in the eye and straightened out his cross eyes. Robert Merrill, who tripped over a rifle, which went off, the bullet removing his appendix. Joe Fleischman, who had a pipe stem driven down his throat, which removed his tonsils, proving that the worst that can happen to you is for the best. Or truth is stranger than fiction. Believe it or not. I know it's hard for us to believe that only 100 years ago, the crimes of forgery and counterfeiting were punishable by death. Now, my first radio drama tonight deals with the most fantastic counterfeiting case that has ever come to my attention. The time, August the 9th, 1828. The place, the gloomy criminal court of Old Bailey in London. The defendant, John Lloyd, who is on trial for forgery and possession of counterfeit money, is whispering to his solicitor, Mr. Hunt.
But, Mr. Rogers, I told him I got those banknotes honestly.
Both Mr. Glover and myself realize that you're innocent, John, but we haven't got the evidence to prove it.
What are you going to do? Let me, an innocent man, go to the gallows?
Easy, lad. You're not on the gallows yet. There's still a trump to be played. Mr. Glover is going to try and confuse the Crown's witness.
You mean Henry Hayes? He's a wise one, he is. How do you do it?
We shall ask him to identify again each and every one of those counterfeit £5 notes which they hold in evidence against you.
What good's that going to do?
You see, lad, the barrister realizes things look pretty black for you, and he knows you're innocent. He's done a desperate thing.
What's he done?
He's actually tampered with King's evidence.
No.
He's substituted a genuine £5 note for one of the counterfeits. If Mr. Hayes identifies that genuine note as counterfeit, it will discredit him as an expert witness, and the case against you will collapse. Listen, Mr. Glover's about to begin cross-examination.
Mr. Glover, you may proceed with the cross-examination of the Crown witness, Henry Hayes.
Thank you, my lord. Now, Mr. Hayes, as cashier of the Bank of England, You have previously testified that these Bank of England notes, 10 in number and of £5 denomination, are forgeries. I refer, of course, to Exhibit A.
I did so testify.
Would you be obliging enough to explain how you arrived at that conclusion? You're aware, of course, that a man's life is at stake.
There is no doubt in my mind that they're forgeries.
You are prepared to swear again that each and every one of these banknotes in Exhibit A is a forgery?
I am.
Then I call upon you to restate your opinion of these banknotes under oath. I give them to you now for re-examination.
I have done this already. It is ridiculous.
The court wishes to instruct the witness that Mr. Glover is within his rights in insisting upon your re-examination of the notes.
Very well, then. I'll take them. Let me see. The first note. Obvious forgery. Second. Likewise. Third. Likewise. Fourth. Strange.
Go on, Mr. Hayes.
I beg pardon, my lord. May I request that the bailiff hand me the magnifying glass in my cloak?
The court so directs.
Mr. Rogers, I told you it was foolish to try and trip him up. Mr. Hayes is a wise old fox. I can feel that noose tight around my neck now. I wouldn't give you tuppence for my life.
Mr. Glover.
Wait, listen.
You may resume cross-examination of the Crown witness.
Thank you, my lord. Well, Mr. Hayes, you seem perturbed. What strange mystery did your magnifying glass disclose when you examined that banknote?
Mr. Glover, this note is genuine. It's very strange.
Genuine, eh? I see, Mr. Hayes. The fate of my poor defendant has now suddenly begun to concern you. Can it be possible you made a mistake in your first examination?
No, but, my lord, with the court's permission, I would like to confer for a moment with the counsel for the Bank of England.
Very well, Mr. Hayes. Permission is granted.
Look, John, we've got him on the run.
You're right. He does look green about the gills. I wonder what's up.
I am ready, my lord.
Court recognizes Mr. Hayes. Proceed.
The Bank of England wishes to withdraw all charges preferred against the accused, John Lloyd.
Order in the court. Order in the court. The court has no choice but to grant this motion. But, before it makes its rule definite, the court wishes to question the Crown witness. Mr. Henry Hayes.
Yes, my lord?
What has prompted this sudden reversal of attitude on your part?
I'm still dazed, my lord. What has happened I cannot yet believe. When I examined this £5 note a moment ago, I found it to be genuine.
You already testified to that effect?
Yes, my lord. But there was something else. There is writing on it. Writing in blood.
Did you say in blood?
Yes. Written on this £5 note is a message for help. It reads as follows. I am writing this with a splinter of wood dipped in my own blood. If this note should fall into friendly hands, let it be known that I have been languishing in a slave galley in Algeria, in the cruel services of Hussein Pasha. Please help.
Mr. Hayes, why are you so deeply concerned about this?
My lord, the man who signed the message on this banknote has been missing for 13 years. He is Samuel Hayes, my brother.
The wildest flight of fancy could never contrive a situation more dramatic or more unbelievable than this. The lawyer's trick in substituting a genuine £5 note for a counterfeit brought to light a message written in blood by the long-lost brother of the Crown witness. And so 2 human lives were saved by a banknote, the life of the defendant in the case, and that of the long-lost brother who was traced to the English consul in Algiers and ransomed from slavery. The note itself is now an exhibit in the Bank of England Museum in London. Believe it or not.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.